Welcome everyone to Our Unity, a show that wishes to spread a spirit of peace and love in the world, one conversation at a time.
None of that affects how you are going to change the world.
That's right.
No, it does not take one person to change the world, but it takes one person to believe in themselves.
Yes.
That they can make a difference.
I love
to
that.
Inspire others.
And that's why, for me, I try to make it my purpose now to try to help other people realize their self-worth, because it's so sad that so many of us, we get destroyed based off of what other people have to say.
Yeah.
I would say do it in your own way, make sure you're doing it on your own accord, and take a risk.
Go out there and live your life passionately. Believe in everything that you're doing and believe in the fact that you will accomplish every single goal. Welcome everyone to Our Unity, a show that wishes to spread a spirit of peace and love in the world, one conversation at a time. We want to encourage you to release so that you can receive. I want you to release all those things that are holding you back, that are keeping you stuck, that are not serving the person that you desire to be. Release those things so that you can receive the blessings of an abundant life, self-wellness and self-love, and more importantly, the blessings of God. I'd like to welcome you in. My name is LeShawn Walker. Please like, share, and follow. We are on right now. I have not seen you guys in a few weeks, to the point where I almost forgot how to introduce myself here on the show. It's been a few weeks, my friends, but I hope that you guys are out there doing well, soaring for 2024 like we discussed the last time I was here. It's been a couple of weeks, as I said, and there's been so much going on in my world, I cannot begin to tell you. But what have you been doing? It's the beginning of the year. 2024 is here. It's time for us to shine. It is time for us to release those things that no longer serve us, those things that are hindering us from being the best people that we can possibly be. That's actually what I've been doing, my friends. I'm on this journey and I'm not letting up until I am soaring so high above the sky. So again, tell me, what have you guys been doing the last couple of weeks? I'm going to share with you that I had a birthday celebration. LeShawn is getting older, my friends. It was definitely a blessing. I also was, able to celebrate the fact that a loved one in my life who prefers to remain anonymous was blessed with a kidney transplant from a live donor. I am so excited and happy for this person. I am thrilled to be part of this journey with them. And it was my birthday present. It was my gift this year that they received this beautiful gift now inside of them, this transplant, this kidney that they have been praying for so long. So my birthday was spent celebrating that, just that, not me, not drinking, not partying, not going out and getting lit like everybody would think one would do on their birthday. Instead, I was just so thrilled and so happy to be helping out someone, caring for someone, being of service to someone who just received a new leash on life by being blessed with a new kidney, by having a renewal of their whole purpose that they wanted in their lives and for what they've tried to accomplish in their lives. So I feel honored for my birthday to celebrate with them, and the fact that they are now on this new journey of healing and recovery. It was such a blessing for me and my loved one, and I'm just praying that they continue to get better, continue to heal. I hope that you guys out there are also hoping the same, so that they can come home and they will be safe and that they will be living out this beautiful blessing that they just received in their life. So that's what it was about. It was about me celebrating life at this time, because it's so important that we realize all of the beautiful things that we have going on, even in spite of the challenges that we may be going through. This person has been dealing, with having to be on dialysis for quite quite a few years now. And unfortunately, it tends to change you. It tends to change your outlook on your life and your perspective on things. It is fortunate that a live donor, someone with just the goodness in their heart to want to share their blessing with someone, a stranger, that this loved one of mine is able to just forge on and live a healthier and more fulfilled life. All of the pain that they've gone through and all of the sadness and all of the problems that they had to endure these last few years are now hopefully gone and abated, and now they are moving on into a fresh start. So that was my birthday. It was celebrating the life, the brand new life that my loved one has at this moment. So in releasing, because I was sharing with you guys, for 2024, how we need to soar and how we need to grow and how we need to work on ourselves so that we can be better and whole. And the way to do that is to really release some things in our life, to take a step backwards and figure out those things that have been holding us back from living our best selves. And that's what I've been doing. I'm going to be honest with you, even though I'm full of sunshine, I'm a kind person and I love everyone. The fact is that I still struggle with things. I was struggling with forgiveness, unforgiving for some people. And although it wasn't anything that was holding me back, I feel, from being my best self, what it was doing was holding me back from being my best to them. All I was doing was reminding myself of what they said and what they did and how they made me feel. And I realized that that wasn't conducive to a happy and healthy and well-rounded LeShawn, a person that is moving on this journey to defining the very best of myself, someone who wants inner peace. I have to figure out a way to let go and to move on. And not just to do it with a fake smile, but to do it genuinely and authentically. So that's what I've been working on, actually. When I say release to receive, it is to release those things that are not helpful to the person that you desire to be, to release those things that are weighing you down, hindering you from moving forward in all of the goodness and the greatness and the blessings that God has for you. So that's what I'm hoping that you guys are out there doing in your soar for 2024, because it is truly, truly important that we get rid of that weight. We cannot fly, we cannot excel, we cannot progress, we cannot soar unless we unload all of the things, all of those shackles, all of the things that are holding us back and holding us down. So I want to speak to that today. I want to speak about what it is to release to receive with this amazing woman who is doing that, just that. She is on this quest right now after going through so many different trials and tribulations herself to figure out a better way to love herself, to move forward, to release some things so that she can receive the blessings of an abundant life. So, in our first edition of Defining You, the title of the show is Release to Receive. And we'll be discussing that with my beautiful, beautiful guest, Denise Covarrubias from the vibrant state of Arizona, embarked on a remarkable journey filled with love, resilience, and unwavering faith. At 17, Denise joyfully welcomed her first child, and by 18, she had sealed a bond of love through marriage. As a devoted stay at home mom, Denise adorned her days with part time jobs, sculpting a life that would soon blossom with the laughter of 9 beautiful children, 6 boys, 3 girls, and 2 precious angels watching over from heaven. A devout Catholic, her spirituality isn't just a facet, it's the heartbeat of her being. In the face of unimaginable loss, particularly the passing of her 17-year-old daughter in 2020, Denise found solace and strength in sharing her journey on social media. Her transparency created a space where others too can find support and comfort amid grief, particularly for mothers who feel alone or who have lost their voice. Being so transparent and public has left her family vulnerable to criticism. But undeterred, she continues to share her truth, being grateful for the open door to growth and her newfound passion to pursue her purpose. Denise is really releasing to receive so that she can lead by example. Please help me welcome my beautiful guest, Denise. How are you?
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem, beautiful. I am so sorry I butchered your name, your last name. Please forgive me.
Everybody does. It's okay. It's okay.
I always do that. You have no idea. They give me the last name literally right before, and then I somehow just it one ear out the other. How
It,
have you been?
oh, the last couple weeks especially has been pretty difficult. We've had some hospital visits and just looking for new jobs and things of that nature. So it's been pretty taxing. 2024 has been taxing already.
I know for a lot of people, I know it really has, but I know that you're very faithful young lady. You're a devout Christian, Catholic. So I know that you're staying prayed up even in the midst of all of this that's going on in your world. But I'm praying for you, my friend. I'm praying for you and your family and everything that you're enduring right now. So I do appreciate you being here because you, like we've been so busy the last couple of weeks helping and caring for others as well as yourself. So I want to thank you for the time that you took out to be with us today. Okay.
Oh, I appreciate you having me. I've been so excited for the last couple of weeks. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, LeShawn.
Aw, thank you so much. Well, let me tell you, your story to me is just truly amazing. My niece, came across you on social media, and she just found your story to be so fascinating and just so engaging. And she was sharing with me, quite a few, like posts that you made and conversations that you've had with your viewers. And I just felt that you would be the perfect fit for this show to share your journey and what you're going through. Your unity is all about everyone reawakening and redefining the love within themselves. And even though they go through some things and deal with a few challenges, they always see the blessing in those challenges. And I think that's where you're at right now. You're seeing the blessing in a lot of the challenges that you've endured. So let's speak about that real quick. I know that you are a young mom. You had your first child at 17 and you were married by 18. My friend, what was that like?
I'd made some really bad decisions in my early teenage years, and then the pregnancy of our first son was just kind of a life change. It just completely transformed me and my husband, and then we kind of just made that decision to commit at a very early age. That as much as all the odds were against us and so many people were like, you're too young for this, and all those other things, and we were already stepping out of the Christian norm of what's acceptable. I think there was like a point to prove, but like this deep love within both of us for our child and for each other that just kind of grew over the years. I mean, we had our third child by the time I was 21, and so it was really kind of an interesting, learning curve in the very beginning.
Wow.
But growing up with your children is really special. I want my children to do it differently, but growing up with your children is really special. I have a unique bond with our two oldest. As you know, Erin is now passed, but before she was gone, we just have this really close and unique bond with our three older children, and it was just something that shaped us and formed us, and over these years has taught us with our second batch of children, learning all the things that were the right thing, and then, changing some things that weren't so great, learning as we were coming up as
Yes.
young parents.
I totally get that. Well, let me ask you, I mean, growing up, I mean, did you come from a big family? Do you have a lot of siblings?
I don't. It's just me and my brother. My mom
Oh,
has always been a single mom. She's been perpetually single my brother's whole life.
mm,
After she had my brother, it was like just her goal to make sure that we were taken care of and taken care of well. So my brother and I were latchkey kids, and she had a couple jobs at a time, and
mm,
I was home just kind of trying to take care of business until like that 14, 15-year-old
yeah.
rebellion hit, and then I was like so
But do what I want to do. You can't tell
yeah,
me
yeah,
anything. I
couple
totally
years there,
feel
I was a
that.
little bit of a mess. So,
Mhm. What were your
um,
aspirations though when you were younger? I mean, I'm sure you had dreams of becoming someone or something other than a mother at that age. So what were your dreams and aspirations as you were growing up?
I think for a long time I wanted to be a cosmetologist because I was just very into, there's just a different sense of pride in my generation, I think, as far as our appearance goes. And so that was kind of a big deal growing up. You didn't leave the house if you weren't put together. And so that was kind of important to me growing up. And so I kind of fell into like, let me do your hair, let me do your makeup, mom, and, all those things. And so for a long while, I wanted to be a cosmetologist. And then life kind of
Happened.
happens, and so here we are. I mean,
A
um,
mom and your teenager. Let me ask you about, your feeling, when you found I'm this young mom and now I have to be an adult because technically you were still a child yourself. So how was that process? Adapting to this new situation, you becoming a mother, but still knowing that you're a child yourself.
I think there was a big growing up already, a maturing that had happened rather quickly, anyways, because I was kind of responsible for my brother for a long
Mm,
time, just with my mom working. It was just me and him.
right.
So that maturity kind of came really early. Although I wouldn't change a thing in the world, I had no business doing anything that I was doing at 17, but getting pregnant with our oldest, it was one of those it was almost an instant turnaround. I like the first place I wanted to go was to church to talk to my pastor. I wanted to let my mom know. I wanted to I wanted to be the mom that my mom was to me.
Right. I
So
love
it,
that.
it, it was almost instantaneous. I've told my son several times that he saved my life. I was
Wow.
in a really bad way, and getting pregnant with him saved my life.
I
He
love
saved my
that.
life.
I love that. I really, really do. And I love the fact that, you did not have to do it alone. You had your husband there, immediately. So many young girls, unfortunately, end up getting, pregnant early and then the father just disappears and now they're single mothers at this young
Mhm.
age. So I have to give your husband, a a
Little
pound
pat on the back
for
there.
him,
Yeah,
yes, a
yeah.
pound for doing the right thing. I think that's amazing, but I think it's also a testament to your love and your bond as well, because you guys have been together how many years now?
Oh, this year it'll be 23 years.
I love that. I love that. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Well, God
yeah.
bless you. Now you're on this new journey, and I know you said that it was a challenge, and you're started learning how to like navigate this new terrain. Not only you growing into this woman, but you're bringing a young baby along with you. How was that for you? What were the challenges in trying to navigate this new path?
It was actually a really hard challenge because, like I said, like we had our oldest, and then the moment I turned 18, we got married, and we moved out of my mother's home, and my husband got a job right away traveling. So
Wow.
he was gone all the time. So here I am, this 18-year-old mom with a 6-month-old baby in this 1-bedroom apartment, and all we did was, I took care of Noah, and I cleaned the apartment and waited for Jonathan to come home when he was home for 2 or 3 days, and then he'd be gone a week, and then he'd come home and be home a week and be gone another 2 weeks. And so,
Wow.
and that was for the first 4 years that we were married. That was, so it was one of those situations where he'd come home. Noah was 9 months old when I got pregnant with my daughter Erin, and
Mhm.
she was 4 months old when I got pregnant with our third son David. So,
Wow.
but by the time I, in and out of town,
Yes,
and
I was just about to say that. Oh my
you're a
God, he's
young
leaving,
you're a
leaving
young
you with a gift.
couple. Yeah, so by that third pregnancy, I said, by the time this baby comes, you got to stay in town. I can't do this anymore. And that's when he found a job as an electrician, and he's been an electrician ever since. So,
Wow.
but that was actually really difficult because I spent a lot of time just being a mom to these babies, spending a lot of time with my mom. There was a few years stint where I stayed with my aunt and uncle, and my aunt and I were kind of pregnant at the same time with two of our children.
Mhm.
And so that was actually really challenging, not only for myself as a young mom, learning who I was as a person, as a woman, as a mother, as a wife, but then having my young husband traveling all over the United States and learning how to trust
Yeah.
men in general, and just a lot of hard times in the beginning, to be
I
quite
can
honest with you. They always say like that first 3, 5, 7 years is the hardest. That is the truth. That is the
Yes,
absolute truth.
I believe it.
And I think it can be doubly uh, hard when your husband's hardly ever home because he's trying to provide for his family. So
Exactly, exactly. No, I totally understand that, but you also have to feel a sense of security in that, and that's hard even when they're living with you and they're with you every single day. We still have a problem with trust and believing them and trusting, that they're doing the right thing. So I totally understand where you're coming from, but I love that, you guys stuck together even through those challenges. Now you're home alone, you're raising these amazing, beautiful babies, my friend. What kind of time did you kind of etch out for you to figure out who you are now as an adult? Because I cannot, believe that, you just saw yourself as just a mother at that time, right?
well, actually, that's what was most difficult for me, because for that first 5, 6 years, I was just a mom. I didn't have an identity outside of that. I was just Noah, Aaron, and David's mom, and so that was really difficult for me. I remember there were several phone calls to my mom just crying because I'm lonely. Jonathan's out of town, and I'm raising these babies, and I don't know who I am. I have nothing outside of motherhood. It actually took my third son David going to kindergarten before I really started to figure out who I was,
Mm,
dive more deeply into our faith, and then that's when I got pregnant with our twins. So
wow.
simultaneously, as I'm finally finding my identity as like an individual, as a woman, I
Mhm.
get pregnant with these twins, and that kind of changes things again, but I was able at that point to kind of continue on to learn who I was and who I wanted to be, not only as an individual, as a woman,
Mhm.
but as a mother and as a wife, because it took some time. But I in the beginning, I wasn't okay with just being a mom, but I
Mhm.
know this has been my calling. This is who I am, so I don't
Yes.
I don't look at it as just a mom or just a wife anymore. This is what I've been called to do,
Yes.
and now at almost 40, I'm so content in that. I am so content in my role in this world and in my family's life.
Yes. Well, let me tell you, for you to have 9 children, there has to be something that you are instilling in them that God is giving you to give to them, which is why your role and your feeling and your title is not just the title of mother. You're a nurturer, you're a provider, you're doing all of these things that these children need. And you're doing it with, the selflessness of not caring about actually who I am right now and what I need. So I love the fact. Tell me, knowing that your mom, raised you, and I'm sure she wasn't looking for you to be a young mother. What are
Right.
you instilling in your daughters? What are you telling your daughters?
So we only have one living daughter now, and Jordan is just the light of our whole lives. She has, older brothers, and of course her father and I, and Jordan just knows that the world kind of seeks and demands of women certain things, and it's okay if we don't fit that mold. It's okay if what we are called to do is just raising and loving our families, and if you don't want that, too, that's okay. Go and do and see some things first before you settle down. Live here until you get married. So
Yeah.
for Jordan, it's very much because we have two daughters in heaven, and Jordan is our only living daughter now. There's this very big bubble of protection around her to preserve her innocence as long as possible, um, but also to protect who she is and who she's created to be, in her feminine dignity. And she I think she learns that as best as she can. I try to do my best to do that for her, my mom as well. But learning who she is and her feminine dignity, and what that's supposed to look like for her in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
And just kind of preserving that innocence as long as we can. She'll be 12 this year,
Oh,
and
God bless her.
she's already got a mommy spirit, and I love that for her. I love that for her.
I love that too. And that
Yeah.
just means that she sees, just your heart, and what you've given to the children, to your children. And she wants to emulate that. And I think that's amazing. I mean, I could have not imagine how hard it must have been, for you to raise your 3, 4 children literally by yourself while your husband is traveling, and you're trying to, instill in them those great qualities, and give them a foundation that will ensure that they're going to have a great adulthood, but clearly you're doing that, my friend. Now, in this world that we're living in right now, do you find it's going to be easier or harder for your daughter to sort of maintain this dignity, this female, queen that she is, this queendom that she
You
is?
know, you know what I do? It's unfortunate because the beauty standards have just exponentially changed even from when I was her age, and then
Mhm.
like I said, the demands, you're not valued or worthy if you don't have a job and are a mother and this and that, and I just feel that's very detrimental to women in general, because you can have one or the other, or you can have both, but it doesn't take away from either if you only choose to have one or the other, or you do both.
Yeah.
So I think it will be that much more I know for her it's going to be difficult in general, having so many older brothers and her dad being so protective. um, but I definitely think for her and I have a really good relationship. We talk about everything, and she comes to me, whenever she has an issue. And so my biggest thing for my daughters is, I know my mom did the very best that she could, but she being a single mom and having to work so many jobs, she just wasn't very emotionally available to me, which was a little detrimental. I think that's why I kind of had like this rebellious side growing up.
Right.
So that's been more important for me, to be that emotionally available mom to all of my children, but
Mhm.
especially my daughter,
Yeah.
um, especially after losing her sister. So, just a few years ago. So, for Jordan, I think open communication with us, and I don't ever want my children to be afraid to come to me. I want them to be, in their head saying, I need to go to my mom first. I want to see what mom thinks, or, what does mom think I should do, or suggest I should, go,
Yes.
so I'm trying to nurture and build that as best as I possibly can, just by, I think we place a low value on being emotionally available as mothers,
Yep.
especially nowadays with as busy as mothers are.
Yes.
Um, but I think it's so important. I think it's so important to know that they have like that safe space,
Mhm.
to kind of let go and just,
Yes.
kind of fall into their mother's arms if they need to.
I do. I so agree with that. Thank you for saying that, my friend, because I really do agree with that. I honestly just had a workshop for my business, Defining You Life Fitness Center, last night. And we were sharing so much, about what we need to release in order for us to receive. And we were discussing, something very similar to what you said. Um, when I was growing up, unfortunately, we didn't have parents that were emotionally available to us. It was just do as I say, not as I do. Just fall in line to what I said. Just follow my directions, and that was it. I didn't learn how to cry properly, or how to show emotions properly, or when I was supposed to show or be vulnerable and show these emotions. And I unfortunately passed that on to my kid. So right now, me being that person that grew up in that kind of, emotionally stunted environment, and it wasn't a bad thing. I mean, my parents love me, and I don't want to say,
Of
mistake
course.
exactly mistake anyone into believing that I wasn't loved, because I wasn't, and nurtured and cared for. But
Right.
it's just those little things that you wish you would have had, the ability to just go to my mother and just share what was on my heart and why I wasn't feeling well, or why I wasn't feeling fulfilled, and
Mhm.
I unfortunately didn't do that for my daughter. And right now, at 27 years old, she's trying to figure out how to manage emotions. She's trying to figure out how to, determine what she's feeling and how she's supposed to feel about those very things. So I think it's so important that we be emotionally available for our children, show them how to respond to situations, and give them that nurturing and that care that they need in order to feel vulnerable enough and at ease enough to want to share those things with you, because
Absolutely.
that's also the disconnect sometimes as well. So that's beautiful. I know you love your children. I mean, all, the boys and the girls, and I know that you're so very proud of them. But I know also that in you raising them, the challenges of teaching them, right from wrong, and how to be upstanding citizens and things of that nature. How was that for the boys? Because I know for the girls it's a little easier. What was that for your young men in your life?
So that's actually been really challenging because for my older children, I was still in a very young space. And so some of those things that I've learned with our second set of children, come a little easier and more natural. But I was still learning a lot of that growing up, especially with, our first child. I think a lot of us can agree that, most of our mistakes are with our first children because we're parents for the first time. We don't know what we're doing. There's the cliche, there's no handbook to raising your children, and every child is different. And so unfortunately, I think a lot of those things you kind of just have to offer up and chalk up to you didn't really know any better. And so our two oldest boys, unfortunately, they live, well, fortunately and unfortunately, they live very different lives. Noah, our oldest, is incarcerated. He just couldn't find his way back after losing his sister. And that has been a pain for our whole family. He has deep regret and sorrow. And I believe that he had taken on a lot of the family's pain and whatnot on himself after losing Aaron. Lots of regret and unfortunately, we have different children, and they have all these different mindsets. And so for Noah, where he's very much like me, not as strong-willed, in his younger age, and you're right from wrong, but you know you just kind of set yourself in a bad way, and then sometimes you find it where you just can't come out of it. So that's
Yeah.
going to be a long road, unfortunately, for him. But he's trying to make the best of that time and get further education while he's in, and just I try to reiterate to our oldest, which is so different from our third child, David, who is a Marine. You are not the sum of your mistakes.
Exactly.
God is merciful, and you can come back from this. You
Yeah.
can redeem yourself. Everything is redeemable
Yep.
in due time, so
Yeah.
that's a constant reminder to our poor oldest son, who just couldn't find himself after losing his sister, which is a far stretch from his 19-year-old brother David, who decided he was going to hunker down, graduate high school for his sister, go into the Marines like the moment he graduated. And so now he's getting ready to deploy to Japan in a couple
Oh,
of months.
wow.
And he's kind of, there are days where I know he regrets being a Marine. Like, what did I do?
Well,
um,
I'm glad that he is going on this new journey and he's exploring the world, and
yeah,
that he chose, to deal with his sadness and his grief in a different way. And I'm also
yeah,
praying for Noah, your son, who's incarcerated right now. I know that he's going to learn a lot from this experience as well. I feel like the challenges that we endure are setting us up for our bigger blessing, and I
yeah,
think that as long as we face them head on, and that we inject the power and just the faith that we have from above, that there's no way we won't get through it. So I'm praying for him. I know that this was his lesson, and I know that he will find the blessing in it as long as he stays focused, and
Yes.
he realize it for what it is. So, you spoke about it a few times, and I think, I didn't even want to really go deep into it, but you're here because of releasing to receive, and you've been on a very hard journey since your daughter died in 2020. So I want you to share with us, a little about that time, what you went through, if you don't mind sharing how she even passed, and yeah, just give us a little insight into your beautiful.
No, of course. So of course, 2020, we're all aware that COVID hit and pandemic was, you know, just a thing of this whole world that nobody was really familiar with. And so when we went into lockdown in March of 2020, I
Mhm.
will tell you what, the first couple months I was like pulling my hair out because I had, 7 kids at home, bored out of their mind. And we're just trying to stay busy and trying to be good to each other. So those first couple months were really difficult. But then, you kind of get into the swing of things and you realize that that COVID isn't going anywhere and they're going to keep us locked up for a while. So we kind of just made the best of things.
Mhm.
And Erin, she's always been like second mom. As soon as I started having like the younger siblings, she's, just always stepped in, wanted to help, wanted to do this, kind of picked up the slack in areas where, I was struggling or what have you. And so, we go through the summer and she had a pretty bad breakup. She was with her boyfriend for a little bit more than a year. And she broke up with him finally. We were so proud of her. And she was just starting to find herself. And so the night that she was killed, it was the day before her senior year. And
Man.
she said that she wanted to just get out of the house for a little while. And where typically that wouldn't be the case because tomorrow's the start of school, you have to focus. She'd been locked up all summer with their siblings. She just turned 17. I was just like, you know what, you've earned this.
Go.
Go.
Go. Oh my
So
God.
uh we had been gone running errands all day. We got home and I was kind of at the table distracted, and I told her, if it gets much later, I don't want you to leave. It's going to get late. And, so the friend was supposed to pick her up. And so, several minutes later, she goes, okay, mom, I'm leaving. And it was kind of one of those situations where, yes, I let her go, but I was a little just irritated by the whole situation. And again, distracted by kids and
Right.
start of school and the whole nine. And so I just reminded her, I said, 1 hour, Erin. She says, okay, mommy, I'm leaving. I love you. And I said, 1 hour, Erin. And she walked out the door.
Mm.
She wasn't supposed to be walking, but she wanted to get a head start because she knew her friend was running late.
Right.
So she decided she's going to get a head start, walk out the door. And that was the last time we saw her. She was always on time. She was always good about communication. And
Mm.
so by 8:45, when I hadn't heard from her, I knew something was wrong.
Mm. Mm.
And
I'm so sorry.
she was walking down the side of the road, and a drunk driver hit her on the shoulder. She was killed instantly at the speed that the driver was going, and I'm grateful for that. That she didn't experience any pain and probably was taken well before she felt anything.
Yeah.
Um, but we didn't find her. The police didn't find her for a few hours. It was about 11:30 by the time we found her. Um, and it was actually such a gift because my husband right away by like 9:30, he's leaving to go just see him. Like, where are you gonna look? We don't even know where she went. We don't know who she was, like where they were going in the moment. Like she was a very trusted and well, like just she was a well-behaved girl, So
Right.
the kind of leniency that Aaron had was different. And so he's like, I don't know, I'm just going to look. And so he goes driving down the road that she's hit, and by the grace of God, he shielded Jonathan's eyes because she was there.
Oh my
There
goodness.
was no reason why he shouldn't have seen her,
Right.
but he was shielded from seeing her. I think that if he would have found her, it would have broken him completely.
Yeah.
So we're so grateful that it wasn't Jonathan that had found her. It was the police that had then come and taken her location, finally found her
Right.
in the road,
Mm,
or
mm,
off the side of the road, at the shoulder. Um, and we were told that a few hours later that, yeah, that she had been killed by the speed that the driver was going.
oh my God.
And so that was pretty surreal. I remember that night just feeling like something was wrong, but just saying over and over and over again, Jesus, I trust in you, because that prayer has never let me down. When I have nothing else to say or give or think of, it's Jesus, I trust in you. And in that moment, that's all I knew to do. And I just felt something was still wrong, even repeating that over and over and over again that night. And
Mm,
it was kind of the beginning of our world just crumbling around us for that first year.
yeah.
That was We've never experienced that kind of loss before, obviously, and it
Mm,
kind of set the ball in motion for what our life looks like today, and how we've proceeded, and even some of the mistakes that our family has made
yeah.
as a result of, child loss changes you
It does.
irrevocably. It changes you. There's nothing about your person that is the same anymore.
I know.
Um,
I could imagine. Let me
and
ask you, the first year I know you said was really the most difficult that you've had to endure. What was your life at that time? I know a lot of people when they go through grief, they sort of disconnect, from their family. They disconnect from reality even. I done it when my father passed away at the young age of 56 years old. Um I disconnected from everyone. What was that year like for you? What did you experience and go through?
so the one of the biggest things that was evident right away is God's blessings were still abundant, even in our brokenness and heartache.
Mhm.
He provided so much in those first few months. We didn't have to worry about dinner for like 3 straight months.
Yeah.
There was a food train that had come around us from, our church community, from our family community. And so that was one of the biggest things that I tried to keep in mind. And you see so many times where mothers lose children. Even in my own family, my grandmother lost my uncle, and she completely disconnected from the rest of her children. And that stayed in the forefront of my brain, that as much as I love Erin, my other children need to know that I didn't love her more than I love them.
Yes.
And so it was important for us to be present, if only for our children.
Yeah.
But the world did kind of shut down. I was just talking about this in this last week. Notifications were just completely silent. I didn't want anything to do with my phone. And I
Mhm.
think my husband and I spent the first 2 months on the couch just watching every show that Aaron loved to watch with the kids.
Oh wow.
So um but it was just so utterly important that our children knew
Yeah.
that we weren't going anywhere, that they were still valued and loved as much as their sister.
Yes.
And
Yes.
everything else was just kind of a blur.
Mm,
Just kind of going through the motions, muscle memory, when Jonathan finally made it back to work, or
mhm.
when I finally started having to cook for my own family again, those kinds of things. It was just a
Right.
lot of muscle memory at that point, for the sake of my children need to know that they are loved and valued just as much
Yeah.
as she is and was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that first year was just a lot of thank goodness, constant reminders from God that how he's still going to continue to bless our brokenness if we allow him, that he
Mm,
will make something beautiful out of our
yes.
broken hearts if we let him.
Yes, yes, amen. I truly believe that. And I'm glad that, regardless of what you were feeling and how broken you are at the time, that you still showed up for your other children, because you could have really went down the rabbit hole. I mean, I can tell that, that loss is still hurtful to you. And I don't think it's ever really not going to be hurtful. I still cry having conversations about my dad, and it's been 20 years since he's passed. So the hurt never goes away. It's just like you said, just keeping moving forward, still handling your business and completing the tasks before you. You just do it because you know that you have to. What
Yeah.
was the most challenging for you in the midst of you trying to grieve and still trying to be that wife and be that supportive mom? What was the most challenging for you? And were you able, do you feel, grieve the way that you wanted to?
Um, I think probably more than anybody in my household, I was able to grieve the way I needed to and wanted to because I've always just been a very emotional person. So I didn't know how to, I didn't know how not to. I think the hardest thing in that first year, and even still, a couple years later, is going through. But especially that first year was like, somebody's daughter's graduating high school, or having a birthday, or experiencing this, that, and the other. That was probably the hardest thing for me as a mom, is like having all my children's birthdays, and this other child is not here able to celebrate hers.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, wow.
and now, as a few years have passed, it's now friends of hers that I still keep in contact with. They're like
Mhm.
starting their own lives and having babies, and so it's a beautiful thing because I've loved them so much, and they love Aaron and love our family, but that's a little bittersweet for me,
I could
as the
imagine.
years go on, to see her friends, start their lives where my daughter would have been at this point. So that's still quite challenging, um, to kind of walk through. But I think more than anybody, I was able to grieve the way I needed to. The other thing was my husband and I figuring out who we were now. We're still parents, we're still married, we still very much love each other, but we don't look the same anymore. We
Yeah.
we are no longer who we knew and grew to love. We are no longer these people who are parents to, we're still parents to Erin, but she's
Right.
no longer here,
Right.
and so that was probably equally as difficult, is navigating male grief because it's so different than female
Yes.
grief,
Yes.
but also, um, trying to not only keep what we could from our old selves of who we were as husband and wife,
Huh?
but growing into this new kind of area that none of us have ever really,
Exactly.
like,
This new relationship is what it is.
right.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
new form of
Yeah.
your relationship. Let me ask you, I mean, knowing that you guys, you stuck through it and you stuck together even when it was at its hardest and you were at your lowest. I realized that after a point you were able to share and you were ready to share it with the world. Before time gets away from us, tell me what encouraged you or sparked this desire to share your story with strangers on social media, but how it was honestly a blessing in disguise in helping you heal. Tell me about.
Well, I will tell you that's all because of Erin. So during pandemic, she's like, "Mommy, get or, get TikTok, get TikTok." I'm like, "Girl, I am not trying to do another social media page. Like, it's just all drama." She's like, "No, Mom, no, get it. You'll be famous, Mama. You'll be famous." And so finally she convinced me, and at first we were just having fun with it, just random trends, no big deal. And then all of a sudden our whole world turns upside down, and there was something in me that needed to share what was going on. So about 5 days after she had passed, I'd shared a video that went semi-viral. And what sparked it is her TikTok account was linked to mine, and so I
Mm,
was going through like videos she had saved, sounds that she had saved, and I'd come across this particular sound, "Before You Go," and I lost it. And I
mm,
decided that I was going to use that sound to share the fact that we had just,
lost you.
lost our daughter, went semi-viral. And when I decided to finally come back about 3 months later, it was with the sheer intention of sharing grief in a real and raw way, what that looks like as a mom, but also being there for other moms who feel like they're alone in their motherhood, or didn't have the space to share their grief, or didn't have the opportunity to grieve the way they should, because the world are just, be happy and everything's going to be okay. we
Yeah.
don't we don't honor death in that way, when we just
devalue what grief actually does for the
Does.
healing process.
Exactly. Yep.
And so without Aaron, I never would have had the account to share what was going on to begin with. But then months later, wouldn't have had really the platform to say, hey, I'm here for you through my grief. Let's do this together. I needed something myself. After my husband went back to work and the kids went back to school, I was home by myself wrapped up in this grief, not knowing what to do with it. And I decided one day, well, I'll go live. And it was like 7 people on live. But that 7 people grew.
Wow.
Exponentially, and now that's just kind of
You
the
have a
premise of
whole
where
tribe. Yes. Now you have
yeah.
a whole family, you have a whole tribe that supports you, that also is encouraged and inspired by you and your story. And that's what I think is so fabulous. I really, really do. I mean, you took that grief and you turned it into good. And I feel that you've done that by reaching out to so many people that are going through the same thing, challenges that you're going through. And they see how you're moving in grace, with grace
I
through those.
try.
Yeah,
I
no,
try.
I can tell. I know it's a hard fought try. I know. But the fact is that you're showing up. You're being transparent and authentic. Some people find it quite hard to do that, And I understand, I mentioned in your bio that, you get some criticism, for putting yourself out there and being open and honest. But again, the criticism I'm sure does not outweigh all the positivity that you're pouring into those viewers, those people that are a part of your social media. So I am so happy that you decided to receive that love, that outpouring of love from others by what you were sharing. So tell me, how did it feel for you to finally get it off your chest and sort of, be able to help others on their journey who are experiencing the same grief that you're experiencing?
It's been extremely healing, but there are some things that are very difficult. There are times where I hear other people's stories and it just kind of tears me up all over again. But for the most part, it has been extremely healing to just be present for other people, and share that experience. Or if I'm always very open. If you're asking for advice, I'm going to give you the best that I can, but it doesn't mean that I'm right. It doesn't mean what's worked for me is going to work for you.
Right.
But I think I know it's been just this enormous blessing from God that He wants. I know that it sounds kind of silly, but I've really looked at in the last couple of years as a ministry on TikTok. I've connected with women as mothers, or as grieving people in general, and for me to kind of offer a safe space, which I've been told. I didn't give that to myself. It's what people have told me, to offer this safe space for people to just cry or just be present or just watch me, to take their mind off things, or what have you. Not only has it been a gift for me that I feel so blessed by, because God is so good in that way, because without that support, I don't think I would be the same person that I am today. But having like purpose
Mhm.
in the grief, in the traumatic loss of Aaron,
Yeah.
um, not only for my family first and foremost, my children and my husband, but for others outside of that circle who experience these things and don't feel like they have people that they can count on, or a safe space to grieve, or just or share their grievances as a mom or a wife.
Mhm.
It has been extremely healing for me, and I've a lot of growth. I've made some pretty awful mistakes in the meantime, because I'm still human and broken in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But people sharing their stories, their experiences with me has helped me like look at the bigger picture. Light
Mhm.
bulbs go off and I'm just like, okay, this is now where we can regroup and refocus, and what can I do now to be better?
Right.
Um,
I
and
love
and
it.
that's kind of just where the goal is now. And sometimes we kind of fall backwards, because
Of
there's
course, we're
there's
human.
this hiccup and this
Yes.
pothole and this big old mountain in front of us.
Yeah.
But I've still tried to, one of the biggest things that I tell people is living in gratitude no matter what.
That's
That can
right.
be really hard in the midst of loss and
Yes.
brokenness. But
Yes.
living in gratitude is so important.
It really
It's
is.
so important.
It does.
So
It is. It makes you realize what you actually still have left. And you have so much left. You have so much still here. You even have your daughter still here watching over you, guiding you and showing up for you. You know what I mean?
she
Trust
does.
and believe she is your heavenly angel, my friend. And she's the one that's allowed you to want to be able to share, to have that ease of being transparent and being authentic and sharing your grief, because a lot of people can't do that, you know, and a lot of people can't even face it for the most part. So the fact that you're willing to share it with strangers so that you can be of help to them, so that they can lean on you, I think is admirable. I think it is amazing. I am so happy that you are moving forward in your journey, that you are staying faith filled, and that you're staying prayed up as well. And you realize that there's so much more in store for you, my friend. There really, really is. I think this challenge has stirred you in the direction of your purpose. No longer are you just a mother of 9 children. You know what I mean? You are a woman now with a passion for serving others, for being that voice for the voiceless, for standing up, you know, and sharing your story so that others can be encouraged. So I love that, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm grateful for you for being here and sharing your story. So we're about to wind down. I want you to tell me real quick anything that you would like to share with our viewers. Tell me what's on your heart.
Oh,
Take your
I
time.
think I just when things look really dark, there's always just like almost this lightning bolt that's sent to me when I most need it, which kind of revives me into that spirit of gratitude. And you're right, I've always had a heart of service. And the biggest thing that I share with people on live or certain conversations is if you want to change the world, go home and love your family.
Yes.
Those aren't my words, but that is something that I live by. You want to change the world, go home and love your family and live in gratitude. We can always there's always a situation that will be worse than ours, but don't let it that doesn't take away from the pain or the suffering that we are feeling in this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that suffering has purpose, and that's what I try to tell people, because there's a lot of those questions: is why does this happen? Why do these bad things happen? Why do I have to go through this?
Mm-hmm.
There is purpose in suffering.
Yes. Yeah.
And and just by going home and loving your children and your spouse or whoever with all your heart, with all your soul, loving God with all your soul, all your might, all your all your
Mhm.
mind,
You will do
it
that.
really just there's a fullness, there's a joy
Yeah.
that nothing else can bring, that
Break.
nothing that only that can satisfy and fill that joy, that fullness,
I
is
love it.
when you're living in gratitude and
I love
serving
it.
your family and loving them to the best of your ability.
Well, I'm so glad that that's exactly what you did, my friend, and it is showing. Thank you for releasing the past and the sadness and the grief so that you can receive the abundant blessings that God is
uh,
about to trust me.
I'm
It's gonna
trying,
happen.
friend, I'm trying.
You so much, my friend, for being here. Please do not go. I want to share real quick with everyone the Dare to Be You. And the Dare to Be You is: sometimes you don't realize the weight of something you've been carrying until you feel the weight of its release. And that's exactly what my beautiful friend has shared today. We want to put up your information real quick, please. Thank you so much, Denise, for being here, for sharing your story, for being just so honest, so real, and for allowing us to just see a little sneak peek into your world, and how you're able to turn it into, a blessing and make it better for you and your family, and to raise your kids with the fullness of love that they deserve. deserve. So thank you so much for being here. I want to thank all of you as well for tuning in to another episode of Your Our Unity. I hope to see you next week. And please remember that peace and love is in the palm of our hands. Let's go out there and be some love, give some love, and just share some love. Thank you so much, Denise, for being here. You know we're going to have you back, my friend, okay?
It's been my pleasure, and I would be so happy to be back.
Thank you. I love you, and I want you guys to have a great night.
You too.
Strong Island Entertainment.